Hey everyone, let's talk about cooperative economics for Black women freelancers. This is really focused on collaboration over competition, which is something that I emphasize so often in my Black women freelancers community. Which you, if you have not joined, let me put the link to join in the chat. If you are a current or aspiring Black woman freelancer, if you are curious about what freelancing is, please join us over there. We have our weekly accountability call, which is a soft accountability, more like a peer support call today at 6 p.m. Eastern. And it happens every Wednesday. We gather as we are navigating the ups and downs of freelancing, of entrepreneurship as Black women. We gather together to share resources, support each other, encourage each other on this journey, which is what I want to talk about today: the power of cooperative economics. And this is a topic I've been sitting with for a while. For those of you who do not know, my background was in economic development prior to transitioning to entrepreneurship. Oh, my camera went out for a second. But that is an interest area of mine. And so I'm bringing back that passion, the fire that I had for understanding how economics can be used to grow collaboratively. And I have to shout out Samira. Her channel is Black Women Build Wealth on YouTube. She has an annual summit that she hosts, the Black Women Build Wealth Summit. And one of the sessions there was so eye opening for me. It talked about the susu, I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's a way of basically contributing into a pool as a community. And then one person is chosen, I think it's monthly, to withdraw the funds from the pool. And it acts as kind of a loan based system outside of the traditional banking system, because we know that anti Blackness in the banking system is very real. The racial wealth gap continues to persist. And so, me just kind of trying to dig up this understanding, the things that we had prior to these systems being in place that helped us share resources, grow together, start businesses that really honor our worth outside of these toxic workplaces that we find ourselves in so often as Black women. And something I plan on talking about, I think maybe this week, maybe next week, the concept of racial capitalism as we see it at play with over 300,000 Black women at this point, in a period of 3 months, being forced out of the workplace, right? Forced out of jobs that we were told were supposed to be secure, they were supposed to be stable, and just the rug being pulled out from underneath us so viciously without any care or concern for how this impacts us, how it impacts our families, our communities. So often we are leaders, right? We are the main financial contributors in our families and our communities. And so the impact that this has on Black women in particular is not small. And it's intentional, right? It's very intentional what we see happening to us specifically like in the economy right now. It's very important to acknowledge. So yes, that is what I'll be talking about today: cooperative economics. Let me get to my notes. If you're here joining me live, welcome. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching. But yes, cooperative economics. So it's also called Ujama, right? A Swahili word for familyhood or cooperative economics. It's also a principle of Kwanzaa. So if you celebrate Kwanzaa, you know about this term, but it's really a way for us to pour into each other collaboratively. I think one of the tricks of individualism in the West, as we've been taught, is that we have to do everything ourselves, which I spoke about with Rushni Cope, Glamazzini, aka Glamazzini, last night on my channel. But it really is a trick of how we're told we have to do things in order for them to count. They have to be hard, they have to be painful. That's what we're taught, for it to count. And so, the purpose of my Black women freelancers community and what I'm sharing here as I am on this entrepreneurship journey is that what if we unlearn that? What if we unlearn that things have to be difficult, hard? We have to trudge through mud. We have to put ourselves in environments, right, that are harming our spirits so often. What if we question that, right? What if we went a different way, taking the knowledge that we have from our ancestors, The way things used to operate prior to this very inhuman form, this economic system that we find ourselves in of racial capitalism. How can we pour into each other's businesses, rejecting the concept of competition, right? That someone can steal something from someone else, and actually like leaning into the fact that we are inspired collectively. And that's how movements grow, right? That's how we build different things. We tap into our imaginations, we pour into each other. So this is not a new idea, right? Cooperative economics. Let me get my. This is a very old, I guess, is coming up. This is an idea rooted, I guess, in history, right? And how things used to function prior to the system that we find ourselves in that is draining, it's extracting us, it's pushing us out. This is very real. Um, a lot of thoughts coming up, right? But this is intentional. This is intentional. And so I think we're being called to really revisit the ways that things used to be done prior to what we're experiencing now, because it is such a violent system, right? The system of racial capitalism. It is built literally on using the bodies of Black people as assets, as financial assets, right? That is the foundation of the economic system that we're in. And so it makes sense, right, that we're not valued. Our labor is not valued. We are being extracted from. We're being told that we're not skilled, when it is our skills, our labor that is literally like pouring in to all of these things, all these institutions, all of these environments, right? It's our labor upholding these things. And it is a trick of oppression. And I have thoughts about this, the way that psychology is used to really like do these things to our minds, right? Make us believe things that are not true. Gaslighting is a huge facet of how oppression is able to persist over time. The amount of trauma that we experience within these systems generationally, and it's passed down, it impacts our memory. It impacts the way that we're able to see long term, strategize long term, even pull from the past, because we're constantly in a state of survival. And so that's why this system, right? That's how this system persists. And so just incorporating different ideas of how we can operate outside of the system. I think that's what I want to get to. So yes, so as Black women, right, especially in freelancing, again, Black women have been left out of freelancing conversations. This was never presented to me as an option. As I think back during my time in college, right, the different career options that are presented to us in high school, no one said, oh, you could be a freelancer. You could learn things, and I'm someone who loves to learn. You could learn skills, and that could be your pathway towards generating income. That was never presented as an option to me. And so I think that's part of the work that I'm doing with Black Women Freelancers, right? First, we have to acknowledge that we have skills. Sometimes that's the biggest hurdle to get over, because we've been taught that these organizations, these institutions that we find ourselves in, that they have ownership over our skills that we bring in. No, they don't, right? So it's unlearning that. That's a lie. That's a lie of oppression, right? Because of course they want to have ownership over our skills. That way that they can control our movement, what we do. If we feel free enough to be able to leave on our own free will, it's very insidious if you think about the roots, right? Tied directly to enslavement. And so we're having to uproot the idea that other people have ownership over our skills. No, we own our skills and we can utilize them any way we see fit. Again, whether that's freelancing, whether that's pivoting to another opportunity, exploring your opportunities, right? Kind of like expanding your worldview can be helpful in this. Yes, thank you. Hey, always good to see you, Valerie. Yes, they don't like the idea of us being business owners. That's true. That's true. Thank you for this. Thank you. Yeah, I have in my notes like Black Wall Street, which I just had the chance to visit the site of where Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And can I say, like, you can still feel the heaviness, right? The things that we have been able to build, construct with very limited resources, again, under a system of racial capitalism that deliberately withholds resources from us. And yet we're still able to create these incredible communities, right? And then what does it do? Right? It triggers within people something that they have to destroy, certain group of people, right? And tying this to our experiences in toxic workplaces, it's the same thing, right? So it's not new. It's the same thing. Our light, from pet to threat, coined by 3 Black women professors, our light, our skills, our brilliance, our experience triggers people who will never be able to touch what we possess inherently, right? And they take that upon themselves, right, to say, I need to destroy this because this is compromising my power, my view of myself, right? I'm supposed to have complete dominion over this world, over this planet. And you're challenging that within me. And so now I'm seeking to destroy everything that you've created. Our experiences in the workplace, right? I'm seeking to destroy you personally. I'm seeking to push you out because you're telling me that I can't have dominion because the brilliance that you're bringing in, the skill set that you're bringing in, right? And you're showcasing and your confidence is telling me the truth that I'll never be able to have dominion over you, right? And they hate that. That really triggers a lot of people. And part of healing is really understanding what's at play. Unfortunately, the system, the plantation system, has continued through 2025, as we see in the workplace, how Black women in particular are being treated, are being pushed out. Um, Again, with over 300,000 Black women over a period of 3 months being pushed out deliberately of the workplace from jobs that we were told were supposed to be stable, were supposed to be there in place, that we have contributed so much into these, and just being discarded, right? And no one cares. So this is really unfortunate, but it's important to see like the through line that these systems never ended, they just look a different way. And if you're able to see that, kind of using your imagination to see how they have continued to persist, we're still dealing with a lot of the same things, even though we're being told that that was in the past, right? It's still very much in the present. And so even having that understanding may be helpful. Hey, Alicia, thank you for joining. Yes. Valerie, yes, it's intimidating to those in the workplace. Yes, it is. Thank you for saying that. It is. Right. And again, having to understand my experience in the workplace, which I've talked about on my channel at length, in a toxic workplace, the plantation system. I had to study the plantation system. What was happening? Right? Where does this from pet to threat, again, coined by 3 Black women professors, which has changed so many of our lives, just having a language. I was just speaking with someone about this today. Having the language for what we're experiencing is so important, because when we don't have the term or the language, we can internalize things so easily, right? That's what was happening to me in the workplace. I'm experiencing this. It must be something that I'm doing. I have to contort myself. I have to take off pieces of myself. And then coming across Dr. Kamani's channel, Lifting as We Climb Consulting, and hearing the term from pet to threat changed my life. I'm like, okay. So this is not just me, because there was so many Black women in the chats, right? Dr. Kamani's chats, sharing that the exact same thing was happening to them globally. And so once I was able to connect the dots, I'm like, oh, it's not me. This is a system at play. A system that we're told is in the past. that is not in existence anymore. And so that can be very confusing when you're encountering the same things. We're told that people, a group of people have gotten over, right? They're viewing us as inferior. And the thing is, I've been sitting with, like, they don't view us as inferior. I don't think it's that simple, right? A lot of the times it's our brilliance. Do I want to say superiority? Yeah, yeah. That triggers people, right? But they present it to us as we're inferior. And so again, it's a mind trick. It's a psychological tactic at play to make us doubt ourselves, right? Question our worth, question our skills, question our brilliance, and really drain our energy. And it's a huge distraction tactic. And that's how the system persists. Something I'll be talking more about, that I learned in grad school: system dynamics, how a vicious cycle continues, um, and how we can move to a virtuous cycle. Part of that is really recognizing our inherent self worth, right? Once you're able to sit with that, messages that a lot of us do not receive, you can start to create a virtuous cycle instead of the vicious cycle that oppressors want us to stay in, right? The constant messaging, the constant self-doubting, gaslighting, self-gaslighting, questioning our skills and abilities. They want us in that cycle because, again, that gives them control, power, dominion over us, right? And so that's important to recognize. No, it's not. It's not you. Yeah, just even having that understanding, right? It's like that can unlock the door to so many portals of awareness, right? It's not you. It is, in fact, the system that are operating kind of behind the scenes, which is important for us to call out. Because when we don't have an acknowledgement that these things are literally working behind the scenes to try to keep us in place, keep us suppressed, keep us doubting, keep us questioning, keep us in competition with each other, these are very real. These are very real. Um, and so, yeah, it's not you. Hey, Mara. Always good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, it is projection. It is. Yeah. And thank you to you, Alicia, for the term, right? Or the understanding. Oppression is projection. Oppression is projection. So people project their insecurities, their inferiority onto us, and it becomes like a psychological warping. Yeah, that's so important. No, Valerie, stop. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've gone completely off my notes, but here we are. Happy Wednesday, y'all. How are you doing? There's a lot going on in the world. Um, so I appreciate you being here if you're watching live or on the replay. Whew. But yes, from African traditions of shared labor to Black Wall Street, as I mentioned, to things like savings clubs, right? Getting back to the ways like in exchange of your skill, right, for money, for income, because unfortunately we need income to survive within this society that we find ourselves in. But getting back to the roots of how we did things prior to being forced into this really rigid, inhuman system of racial capitalism that we find ourselves in, right? Because we've always found ways to resist, to tap into the power of community, knowledge sharing, cooperation, to reject individualism. And I feel like it's gotten especially intense, even in the 2020s, right? This hyper individualism pressure that a lot of us are feeling, kind of feeling detached from each other. The feeling like if I make it, then that's all that matters, right? I can leave everyone else behind. That's a very Western white way of thinking. And as we see the things that used to be in place being dismantled, being the rug being like taken out from under us, we're having to bring this understanding back. What did we used to do before when these things did not exist? How did we thrive before? And bringing that knowledge back to the present is so important. Hey, Marissa, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Crystal. Yes. Hey there. Say that we are in many cases actually superior because, yes, there's a lot of mediocrity that normalized in their culture, especially now it's having a resurgence. Yes, that's so true. Thank you for sharing this. Yep. I just got a chance to meet up with Crystal last week. But yes, yeah. That's true, especially now. The mediocrity is on full display. Full display. Whew, this is bringing up a lot. Yeah, the feeling or the thought, the projection of us being inferior, that could not be any more of a lie. I'm just sitting here like so many memories and thoughts are scrolling through, but wow. If that is not a lie, when it is our skills, our labor, our brilliance that triggers so many people in these institutions, in these workplaces, right? Black Wall Street. And then they utilize that. I don't like that you're showing up so confidently. I don't like that you're bringing your skill set in. I don't like that you are giving me suggestions, right? Because I'm supposed to be on top. I'm supposed to be dominating everything. Um, it's real. It's real. Yes. Hey, Dr. O, thank you for joining. So many members of Black Women Freelancers here. Thank y'all so much. Yeah, I'm really feeling this. I've been experiencing this more lately. It's real. Thank you for sharing this, Valerie. Yeah, yeah. It is real. And it's important to resist like feelings of self-gaslighting, that it is very real. And again, it can feel confusing because these things are operating behind the scenes to suppress, to distract, to extract, to exploit. And so those of us who are able to point out and call out the systems at play, it does so much benefit to resisting those feelings of self-gaslighting, because it's not you, you're not imagining it, you're not envisioning it. It's real. It's real. And yes, thank you so much. Yes, rent parties, mutual aid, cooperation over competition. We've been forced into this understanding that we have to be in competition with each other, right? And I have attended the webinars, I've attended the digital business, I've been in the spaces, right? And folks in there are collaborating with each other left and right, sharing, but they're telling us that we have to compete with each other. It's such a trick, right? It is such a trick, and that is really the purpose of Black Women Freelancers, which is my community for Black women, current inspiring freelancers. A lot of us are looking to travel. And something that has been brought up is neurodivergence within freelancing, right? That it provides you with the ability to create your schedule, to work when you feel most alert, versus these very rigid environments that we find ourselves in. Again, it has to be said, the level of anti-Blackness present in conversations, being left out completely when it comes to things like neurodivergence. And how can this be a benefit, a different pathway to generating income, because we have to generate income within this system that we're now in. But it doesn't have to be hard. I think that's what's coming up. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be painful. That's what we've been told. It's something like a lie that I am continuing to uproot from myself, that it has to be really hard, painful, forceful. No, we're envisioning a new way, right? That's drawing on ways that people have done it for generations. So it's really not a new way in that sense, but it's a new, I guess in the modern sense, a new understanding versus something like individualistic thinking that's often present in business spaces, having come from the banking world, right? Very individualistic, very, if I'm good, then that's all that matters. One of the points of conflict that I found in the role that I was in, right? If I'm good, if I have the salary, then I can overlook the harm that's being done to my community and I should be okay with that. No, no. Um, that is a tactic of oppression to try to separate us from our community with the hierarchy, right? With the fake hierarchy that has been established. I'm at this point of the hierarchy, and so I shouldn't care about people and the levels beneath me, right? Unlearning the entire concept of the hierarchy that whiteness has imposed upon us is so important. Absolutely. They taught us that work is suffering. Yes. Yes. Oof. It's so deep. It's so deep. Yeah. And going the way towards joy, right? Towards what is like, that's something I had to reframe within myself. It can count if it's joyful, right? Work does not have to be difficult. I don't have to feel completely depleted after I do these tasks, after I meet with these clients. If I do, then I need to change my strategy, because that's why we're building businesses, digital businesses as Black women, so many of us, to move away from the idea that this has to be draining. It has to compromise our mental health. It has to break our bodies down. It has to shorten our lifespans in order for it to count. The through line is the messages that were told to us, right, during enslavement. That you have to break your body down. When really, before this, there were ways of exchanging goods and services, right, for value, for currency. Prior to the invention, the evil invention of capitalism, right, of racial capitalism, there were ways that we did this. There are still ways, part of traveling, which again has been presented as off limits to so many of us. Part of traveling, you're able to see that these things are not of the past. They're very much still in the present. I see it every day when I go out. Right now, being in Guadalajara, I see the exchange. And it doesn't feel extractive. It doesn't feel exploitative. And so we're told that this is the only way of doing things to compete with each other, for work to be hard, for it to be arduous, for our bodies to break down. Because they want us to think that that's the only way. And I wrote about this, was it this week or last week? Right? Curiosity, having a curiosity about what could exist outside of this. Because it can feel like this is the only thing, that we just have to be okay with it, accept it, knowing that it's harming us, knowing that it's shortening our lifespans. knowing that we're being pushed out forcefully, right? This is very real. And so, what options for generating income could exist outside of these institutions, these environments that we're told that we have to stay in, even when they don't want us there? And you can feel that energy. It's very palpable when someone doesn't want you there. And it's on overdrive these days, right? So if you're experiencing that, please know that you're not alone. It's been painful to see 300,000 plus Black women in the span of 3 months being forced out of jobs, right? Being let go, the lie of restructuring, the lie of budgets. They're intentionally targeting us. It has to be said. It has to be said. Yeah, Crystal, thank you so much. My dad's birthday is in a few days. He had a brilliant mind, was always treated as a threat. He was big on economic power through small business. This topic is back to basics. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yes, and happy birthday to your dad. Yeah, yeah. Economic power through small business. This topic is back to basics. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's not a new thing. Even me thinking about freelancing, connecting it to our skill sets, right? How we used to view our skill sets and lean into our skill sets as ways to generate income. But we've been taught that we have to seek the stamp, right, of approval. We have to seek the legitimate institution, environment to validate our worth. We don't even see our skill set as our own anymore a lot of the times. That someone else owns it, that someone else can use it as they see fit. Deplete us of our creativity, our energy, our life force to pour into their thing. And then we're told that that's the legitimate way that we have to seek to generate income. So a lot of this is deep unlearning. It's anti-oppression work. Yeah. Okay. And so why this matters for freelancers, I got way off my notes, but here we are. Freelancing can feel very lonely sometimes, especially as a solopreneur. You're doing the outreach. Oof, you're doing all the tasks, delivering the work, which is the point of my community, Black Women Freelancers. For us to be able to be honest about these things is very important. All while facing systemic barriers that were not, that were built, right, to keep us out so often. As Valerie said, like, they don't want us to be business owners. That's why this journey can be so difficult, so draining sometimes. The importance of community on this journey, to be honest about what we're experiencing, because freelancing has provided me with a way to generate income outside of a traditional, I have problems with that word, but work environment, so that I can work with clients that are mutually chosen, right? Both of us choose each other. Generate income, focus on things that are important to me. Absolutely. And there are times when it is difficult because I'm still operating within a capitalist system, right? So it's really important for us to be able to come together, to pour into each other, to unlearn the idea that we have to compete and start collaborating. This can look like passing on opportunities to one another instead of hoarding them all to yourself. If there is something that comes my way that I'm not offering that service, it's not something that I like to do, I'm going through my network of other Black women freelancers. Who else does this service? Who else offers this so I can pass this person who's looking for this on to them? Versus feeling like I have to hoard everything, that I have to now offer the service if I've done it before, if I know that this is not in my thing that I like to do, passing it on to another Black woman freelancer, right? Is this something that you're interested in? Do you offer this as a service? Can I pass this potential client on to you? It's growing a network, cooperative economics. Instead of the pressure, again, to hoard everything that comes your way. Viewing yourself as an individual outside of a community. Teaming up, right? Partnering, collaborating on bigger projects and getting paid what we're worth. Having someone along with you if it's helpful to negotiate so that you're not having to do this yourself. That's draining. To feel like you have to take on this all by yourself. Sharing tools, trainings are so important at an accessible rate. And speaking of that, I do have a masterclass coming up with Glamazini, Rushni Cope, on September 13th. Let me get the link to register. From Passion to Profit, if you are looking to take your skill set and build a digital business, as both of us have done. Rushni will be speaking about growing your brand authentically online, which she has done so beautifully with Glamazini. And I'll be speaking about how to build a basic sales funnel. Again, having a background in economic development, utilizing both my knowledge from seeing how banks work, years of doing that, with now being a solopreneur, formerly working with a client base of Black women digital entrepreneurs as a virtual assistant, and now having my own business. So I'll be talking about how to build a sales funnel, create your lead magnet using simple tools to build your email list, to begin understanding how the sales funnel works. And it doesn't have to be icky. It doesn't have to be steeped in capitalism. You can view it as an exchange of energy. You are pouring energy with what you're creating, what you're offering to the world, and you deserve to have that energy back to you, right? Flow back to you through currency exchange. So viewing business in a different way. So yes, that will be Saturday, September 13th, 12 p.m. Eastern. Here's a link to register in the description as well. Let me get back to my notes. Why it matters also building trust with each other. So none of us feel like we're out here struggling by ourselves. As I said, the journey of freelancing and entrepreneurship, naturally, there are ups and downs. But having a community where you can be honest about what you're experiencing. And again, as we talked about at the beginning, refraining from, what is the word? Not internalizing. Refraining from internalizing what you're experiencing and knowing that there are a lot of barriers out here trying to keep us from this path, which is why it's so important for us to share how we've done it, to share resources, to share information as a community. Okay. How to practice cooperative economics. So building a referral circle can be important. When you can't take a project on, pass it on to someone else who can take it, right? Who offers that service. That generosity will flow back to you. Leaning into generosity. Instead of competition, instead of individualistic thinking, collaborating instead of declining, right? So if a client scope feels too big, bringing in people who can help you, who offer similar services. A lot of our services and products complement each other. But if we're just viewing it through a lens of competition, we can feel like the person whose service actually complements our service is competing with our service. right? When it's really, that's not the case at all. So unlearning these messages that we have been taught is so important. Sharing resources, splitting costs on tools. I know that when I was publishing my book, Cocoon, thank you to Marissa for sharing her formatting tool with me so I could format my book to upload to Kindle to publish, right? So sharing tools if you have them, swapping templates, dropping the information about what you've learned so that other people can benefit from it as a collaborative environment. Skill sharing, so teaching what you know and receiving what someone else has learned. So an energy exchange, something we do often in Black Women Freelancers with guest sessions. So if we have a skill set, right, sharing it and knowing that that energy will flow back to you. That's part of it too. Trusting that what you give out, you will also receive. Unlearning the Western, white, rigid, individualistic model of operating and getting back to basics. As Crystal said, getting back to basics. Okay, so the mindset shift is really leaning into collaboration again over competition to engage in cooperative economics as Black women freelancers. Shifting from the idea that things are scarce, that opportunities are scarce, that clients are scarce, and leaning into abundance, sharing freely knowledge, resources, support, saying to each other, your win is also my win. Knowing that when one of us shines, it lights the way for the rest of us, right? So I want you to shine as brightly as you were put here to shine. I'm not trying to dim your light so that I can take some of it. So, right? First of all, that takes a lot of energy to do that. And as an entrepreneur, a freelancer, you need all the energy that you can have for this journey. And so focusing on trying to bring other people down, that's the energy that you need to pour into your business. So just need to say that as well. Yes, and so if you're interested in learning more about freelancing, how to build your online brand, an authentic brand, I have to say that. Join us. I'll be co-hosting a masterclass with Rushni Cope on September 13th at 12 p.m. Eastern from Passion to Profit. Here is the link to register also in the description section. Again, I'll be speaking about how to build a simple sales funnel to start. This is very beginner friendly. If you have an idea for a business, a service that you'd like to offer, these are things that I have learned over 2 years. And so we're putting this into a 1-hour masterclass. Rushni has had her online brand for over 20 years, right, as a content creator. And so just thinking about our knowledge bases, both of us, in a masterclass that you can learn from, that's huge. I wish that I had this when I was first starting off. So if you're new to concepts like sales funnels, online marketing, digital business, this masterclass is for you. We would love to see you there. So that is the link to register. There's also an option to add on hot seat coaching if you would like personalized one-on-one advice from us in a Zoom room after the masterclass. There's an option to add that on to your ticket as well. So just know that you do not have to do this alone. This journey actually cannot be done alone. Now, having done this for over 2 years, it is only with community that I've been able to sustain this. Pouring into me, giving me knowledge, giving me resources, showing me a tool to use, cheering me on. This is not something that you can do alone, right? So it really does require community, cooperation, collaboration to sustain. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining K-Rock World. Thank you. But I think that's it, y'all. I appreciate you being here. I kind of went off my notes, but that's just how it rolls. Okay. Happy Wednesday. Um, I might be back later this week. I might be back next week. Um, but I appreciate you being here. If you're watching live or on the replay, please like this video. If anything resonated, comment so that we can learn from each other. Subscribe to my channel if you're interested like this in content like this in the future. My second YouTube channel is Black Women Freelancers. I also have a community called Black Women Freelancers. For over, yeah, it's been over 2 years now. It's been over 2 years now. And so if you would like to join us over there, there is a link to do so. We would love to see you. We have our accountability, soft accountability / peer support group coming up today at 6 p.m. Eastern. Every Wednesday, we have those meetups, which have been very helpful on my own journey to express sometimes the frustration of this journey, to gain new insights into things that different people are doing. Um, and again, this journey is not one that can be done alone effectively. And so we have to pour into each other and share resources for us to all thrive collectively, because that's the goal at the end of the day. So, yes, thank you, Valerie. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. You're welcome, as always. And thank y'all so much. I appreciate you. Bye, y'all. Thank you.